Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. William H. Billy the Kid, Bonney, 1859 to 1881, was a famous outlaw and gunman of the American Old West. Known for his skill with weapons and for taking part in numerous confrontations, Billy the Kid became a legend of the popular culture of the United States. This traditional event involves a group of people performing a dance known as the Bear Dance. The practice is part of the region's cultural celebrations. The image shows participants in typical clothing gathered outdoors. James Wild Bill Hickok, 1837 to 1876, was a famous gambler, showman, lawman, and gunman of the American Old West. Known for his skill with weapons and his charisma, Hickok became a legendary figure of the American frontier. William A. Pinkerton is seated in the center. Next to him on the left is Railroad Special Agent Pat Connell. On the right is Agent Sam Finley. They work as special agents on railroads, an important role for the safety and operation of trains. Pat Garrett, 1850 to 1908, was a famous lawman and Texas Ranger in the American Old West. He is best known for capturing and killing the legendary outlaw Billy the Kid. Garrett had a career marked by his work in law enforcement in difficult territories and by his reputation for courage and determination. Around 1900, the Blue Gravel Mine was photographed south of Eureka, California. Mines like this were important places for the extraction of minerals and drove the local economy. The image records mining activity at the beginning of the 20th century, highlighting the work and conditions present at the time. A supply train with several horse-drawn wagons. The image was made by Andrew J. Russell around 1868. Two steam trains stand in the background while people and animals prepare to transport loads through the region. The photo shows the effort required to carry supplies in remote areas during that era. Robert Leroy Parker, better known as Butch Cassidy, was an outlaw famous for robberies of banks and trains. He led the group known as the Wild Bunch between 1866 and 1908. Cassidy became a legendary figure of the American Old West, known both for his skills and for his cunning. Jesse James, 1847 to 1882, was a famous American outlaw and bandit of the Old West. Known for his leadership in robberies of banks, trains, and stagecoaches, Jesse James became a legendary figure in the history of the United States. He was part of the James Younger Gang and had a life marked by crimes and confrontations with the law. Between 1879 and 1894, a photograph was taken at Laguna Pueblo in New Mexico. This indigenous community is known for its rich culture, traditions, and unique adobe architecture. The image shows aspects of daily life and the environment of the Laguna people during the late 19th century. The old two-wheeled cart is at Laguna Pueblo, New Mexico. The photograph was made around 1875. The cart was used to transport goods and materials in the community. Laguna Pueblo is known for its indigenous culture and traditions. The Apache Kid was a scout of the United States Army and also a renegade, active around 1860. He was a member of the Apache tribe and became known for his fighting skills and knowledge of the terrain. In 1903, Calamity Jane was photographed beside the grave of Bill Hickok in Mount Moriah Cemetery in Deadwood, South Dakota. Calamity Jane was a famous figure of the Old West, known for her adventures and strong personality. Bill Hickok, in turn, was a legendary gunman and gambler. The graves of Tom and Frank McClory, together with Billy Clanton, are located in Boot Hill Cemetery. These men were well-known figures of the American Old West and were involved in the famous gunfight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona, in the late 19th century. Johnny Ringo, 1850 to 1882, was an outlaw known for his participation in the Mason County War, a violent conflict in the American Old West. Ringo was famous for his skill with weapons and for being involved in armed disputes and criminal activities. John Wesley Hardin was a legendary gunman of the American Old West, active until 1895. Known for his speed with weapons and for his feared reputation, Hardin was involved in various violent confrontations throughout his life. The Mining Exchange building was the place where the hearing related to the gunfight at the OK Corral took place, one of the most famous events of the American Old West. The shooting happened in 1881, involving figures such as Wyatt Earp and the Clanton brothers. In 1864, Jesse James was a young outlaw known for his robberies of banks and trains in the American Old West. From an early age, he became involved in criminal activities and became a feared and legendary figure. William Doolin, 1858 to 1896, was an outlaw known for founding the group Wild Bunch, a gang famous for robberies of banks and trains in the American Old West. Doolin stood out for his leadership and criminal skills during the late 19th century. In 1878, the Lincoln County Regulators were photographed in Chaves County in the United States. This group was known for its activity during local conflicts in the Old West, especially related to disputes and matters of informal justice. In 1885, the Slaughter's Cowboys were photographed. This group was part of the Cowboys of the American Old West, involved in herding, cattle drives, and at times in local conflicts. Jose Chavez y Chavez, 1851 to 1924, was an outlaw and regulator involved in the Lincoln County Wars in the American Old West. He took part in violent conflicts and gained a reputation for his skill and courage during that turbulent period. On September 15, 1893, a photo was taken at 9 Boots in Orlando in the Oklahoma Territory, where 36,000 people registered. This event was part of the process of colonization and settlement of lands in the region during the westward expansion of the United States. An emigrant train in Strawberry Valley, California. The image was made around 1865. Several covered wagons are pulled by animals on a dirt road surrounded by trees and rocks. Some people appear beside the road accompanying the group. Railroad construction led by General Casement. The photograph was made around 1868. The image shows workers, equipment, and parts of the train during the building of the railway. This work was part of the effort to expand rail lines, making transportation and the development of connected regions easier. On September 16, 1893, the first train, accompanied by wagons, left the line north of Orlando toward Perry in the Oklahoma Territory. This event marked an important moment in the expansion of transportation and in the development of the region during the colonization of the American West. William Curly Bill Brocious, 1845 to 1882, was an outlaw gunman and cattle rustler known in the American Old West. He was part of the group known as the Cowboys, involved in various crimes and clashes in the region of Arizona. On September 5, 1883, the group led by Villard and Rufus Hatch disembarked in Bismarck in Dakota Territory. This arrival marked an important moment in the exploration and development of the region during the late 19th century. In 1889, the first election was held in Guthrie in Indian Territory, a region that later would become part of the state of Oklahoma. The photograph shows a crowd gathered in a rustic setting with ox carts, people wearing clothes typical of the time, and campaign posters reflecting the beginning of political organization in the area. Kiowa dancers in traditional clothing take part in a performance in the Oklahoma Territory in 1902. The image shows important cultural details of the Kiowa people, including ceremonial garments and adornments used in celebrations. An aerial view of the city of El Paso, seen from Mesa Heights. The image shows the extent of the city, with streets, buildings, and natural areas. The photograph records the urban panorama and the surrounding landscape. El Paso is a city located on the border between the United States and Mexico. In 1871, a crossing of wagons through the Colorado River was recorded. The image shows animal-drawn vehicles facing the challenge of crossing the river, a common task during journeys and settlements in the American Old West. Between 1887 and 1892, a photograph recorded freight activities in the Black Hills, a region located in South Dakota. This activity was essential to supply settlements, mines, and local communities during the period of expansion in the American Old West. Between 1887 and 1892, a photograph recorded the Black Hills Treasure Coach, a type of coach used to transport valuables such as money or jewelry in the Black Hills region of South Dakota. These coaches were essential for the safe transport of wealth extracted from local mines. A freight train carries large pieces of sequoia trees in California. The image was made around the year 1884. The train is loaded with wide and long logs taken from forests in the region. Tom Horn, 1860 to 1903, was a hunter, soldier, Pinkerton Agency operative, and lawman in the American Old West. Known for his tracking skills and for his involvement in investigations and justice operations, Horn had a life marked by adventures and controversies. Morgan Earp, 1851 to 1882, was a sheriff and lawman known in the American Old West. He was the brother of Wyatt Earp and took an active part in law enforcement in frontier towns, including Tombstone, Arizona. Around 1883, Tombstone, Arizona was photographed. The town is famous for its history in the Old West, including notable events such as the gunfight at the OK Corral. Tombstone was an important center of mining and trade in the region. In 1890, 3 archers were photographed practicing kyudo, the traditional Japanese art of archery. This practice involves discipline, concentration, and respect, and is considered a form of meditation in motion. Around the beginning of the 20th century, the city of Sitka in Alaska was photographed or documented. Sitka is known for its historical importance as the former capital of the Russian-American territory before becoming part of the United States. Around 1890, the town of Jerome in Arizona was photographed showing houses built along the hillside, while a building was under construction in the background. Jerome was a growing mining town at the time, known for copper extraction. In 1868, Austin, Nevada, was photographed during a period of rapid growth due to silver mining. The town emerged as an important center for miners and pioneers who sought opportunities in the American West. Between 1890 and 1895, the Grand Hotel, located in Silverton, Colorado, was photographed. The hotel was an important building of the time, serving travelers and local residents in a region known for mining and development in the American West. Around the early 1900s, Brewery Gulch in Bisbee, Arizona, was photographed. This area was known for its activity linked to mining and for being a busy center in the town, with shops, saloons, and homes. The image shows the architecture and the environment typical of a mining town of the American Old West at the beginning of the 20th century. In 1888, the Main Street of Bisbee, Arizona, was photographed showing the town center during the height of mining in the region. The image reveals buildings typical of the Old West, with active commerce and the movement of people and vehicles of the time. Between 1880 and 1885, the Main Street of Leadville, Colorado, was photographed. Leadville was an important mining town during that period, known for the extraction of silver and gold. The image shows buildings, people, and vehicles that reflect the lifestyle and economic activity of the town in the American Old West. Around 1899, the gold rush in Alaska attracted many prospectors in search of fortune. The image records the workers involved in mining in challenging and remote environments typical of the region. Thomas Edward Ketchum, known as Blackjack, was an outlaw who was part of the infamous Hole-in-the-Wall gang. Born in 1863, Ketchum gained notoriety for his participation in robberies and criminal activities in the American Old West. He was captured and executed in 1901. A camp of Sioux indigenous people on the plains was photographed, showing the traditional life of this native people of North America. The record highlights teepees, everyday activities, and the close relationship with nature typical of the tribes of the Great Plains. In 1888, cowboys were photographed at the Midland Hotel in Midland, Texas. The image shows men dressed in clothing typical of the Old West, reflecting the lifestyle of the cowboys who worked in cattle handling and in life on the American plains. In 1879, Bill Reese's Dance Hall, located in Miles City, Montana, was photographed. This place was an important social meeting point in the town, offering entertainment and leisure for residents and visitors. Around 1880, a group of cowboys and the chuck wagon crew were photographed in Finney County, Kansas. These workers were responsible for handling the cattle and for preparing meals during the long journeys on the American plains. Around 1900, prospectors worked at Claim Number 7 in Anvil Creek, Alaska. The region was known for the gold rush, drawing many miners in search of fortune. The image shows the workers in action, facing the difficult conditions of the environment to extract precious minerals. Around 1890, Front Street in Coupeville, Washington, was photographed showing the activity and the architecture of the time. Coupeville is one of the historic towns in the region, and the image records the lifestyle and urban development in the late 19th century. Around 1897, Cowlitz Avenue in Castle Rock, Washington was photographed, showing the architecture and the activity of the small town at the time. The image captures the lifestyle and urban development of the late 19th century in a community of the northwestern United States. Around 1895, a parade was photographed on Washington Street in Phoenix, Arizona. The image shows people taking part in the celebration with floats, bands, or organized groups marching along the city's main street. The Main Street, Front Street, of Dodson, Montana, was photographed showing a typical setting of a town of the American Old West. The buildings and the activity reflect the lifestyle and the urban development of the region during the period of colonization and growth in the late 19th or early 20th century. Summit Street in Arkansas City, Kansas, was photographed showing the main street of the town. This image reflects urban life and local development, with commercial and residential buildings typical of the late 19th or early 20th century. Around 1894, the town of Perry in the Oklahoma Territory was photographed showing its early development. The image reveals buildings, streets, and the typical movement of a growing community during the process of colonization and settlement in the American West. Around 1893, a panoramic view of Perry in the Oklahoma Territory shows a developing community with tents and temporary buildings. The image reflects the period of colonization and settlement in the region, with people, wagons, and commercial activities in a setting typical of the American Old West. In October of 1893, a photograph was taken in Duncan in Indian Territory, an area that was part of lands designated for Native peoples in the United States before the creation of the modern states. The image records the landscape and possibly daily life in this region during the late 19th century. Around the 1890s, a photograph by D.S. Mitchell was taken in Indian Territory, an area designated for Native peoples in the United States before the creation of the modern states. The image records aspects of the landscape, buildings, or people of the region, reflecting life and conditions of that period. Around the 1880s, Arizona was photographed showing landscapes and settlements typical of the American Old West. This region was in a process of colonization and development, marked by activities such as mining, cattle raising, and urban expansion. A street scene in Benton, in the territory of Wyoming, was photographed showing the daily life of the small community during the period of colonization of the American West. The image presents buildings typical of the time, people walking, and simple vehicles reflecting the lifestyle and urban development in the region. In 1895, the newspaper of Delamar, Nevada, was photographed. At that time, local newspapers were essential sources of information for communities, covering news, events, and everyday matters. Around 1900, the Roadhouse Saloon was photographed in Bluff City, Alaska. Saloons like this were important gathering places for residents and travelers, offering social life, drinks, and entertainment in remote regions. Around the 1860s, a construction train was photographed near the Green River. These trains were used to carry materials and workers during the building of railroads, which were essential for the expansion and development of the United States at the time. In 1876, Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson were photographed together. Both were known as lawmen and professional gamblers in the American Old West. The image records the friendship and complexity of these historical figures, who combined justice and a bold lifestyle at that time. Between 1880 and 1910, 8 Dakota ceremonial dancers were photographed during a traditional performance. These dances are part of the cultural and spiritual practices of the Dakota people, a North American indigenous group. Around 1866, the company Wells, Fargo & Company operated an express service in Nevada. This company was known for offering fast transport of correspondence, valuables, and parcels during the expansion to the west of the United States. Around 1900, Main Street in Payson, Utah, was photographed showing the town center and its daily activity. The image captures the architecture, the vehicles, and the people who moved along the main street, reflecting the lifestyle and urban development of the time. Beals Station in western Arizona. The photograph was made around 1867 to 1868. The place served as a stopping point for travelers and transport during the westward expansion. The image shows buildings and people at the station, reflecting the importance of the site for the movement of people and goods in the region. People being detained in Enterprise, Kansas. The image was made in 1901. The photograph shows a moment when authorities are gathering a group to maintain order in the community. The scene reflects common procedures of the time to deal with situations that required social control. A ranch on the frontier in eastern Montana. The photograph was made around the early 1900s. The ranch shows simple buildings used for living and caring for animals. The region was known for cattle raising and rural life. A young woman of the Ute tribe is on horseback. The image was made on the Uinta Reservation, located in Utah. The Ute tribe is an indigenous group with its own history and culture in the region. The photograph shows the relationship between the people of the tribe and horses, which were important for transportation and daily life. The Wayside Inn is located in Untamed Canyon in Colorado. The photograph was taken in 1890. The place served as a stop for travelers and workers in the region. Untamed Canyon is known for its natural formations and unique landscapes. Photographers work in the Sierra Nevada mountains. The image was made around the year 1866. They are recording the landscape and nature of the mountainous region. The Sierra Nevada mountains are known for their natural beauty and rugged terrain. A scene in Fallon, Nevada. The photograph was made around the years 1889 to 1890. The image shows a local setting with people and buildings typical of the time. Fallon was a small community in the western region of the United States. The photo records a moment of everyday life in that period. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.